Hi everyone, this is Ilina and welcome to another LDRS creative card making video. For today's card, I'm using the Arches Spotlights stencil set along with the Billowing Blossoms stamped and die set. So let's get started. I have also some LDRS creative watercolor paper that I will be using today since I'll be doing some watercoloring. What I'm doing here is deciding which of the arches I wanted to use. So I decided to use the third from the largest, and um, I will secure it to my watercolor paper. I'm making sure that it's lined up nicely so I have straight lines once I stencil that arch. So I'm using on the bottom, it's not really straight, so I'm trying to fix that right now. Okay, I think that looks good. So I'm using the little boy blue, and I'm adding some ink to that arch spotlight. You can see that I'm adding more heavily on the right side. That's the area where we're not gonna stamp the flower. So I'm leaving that stencil in for now. And I will position my stamp. I'm going a little bit off that arch. Gonna remove the stencil, and along the stencil line I will add some masking tape. You can add either masking tape, scrap paper, whatever you have handy. It does not really matter as long as you have mask off that corner on the left. So a little bit on like between that arch and the tape, I didn't notice before I stamped that there's some gap there, so I stamped in the unmasked area where I don't have stenciling. But at the end, it looked good. I was gonna cover it up with the sentiment, but I think it looked fine even without it. So I use here the Raven hybrid ink to stamp the flowers. And while I have my stamp positioning tool out, I decided to stamp the sentiment. The first one had a little bit smudge since I ended up with my dog's hair on the stamp, so I removed that one and stamped it again. And we'll just die cut it using the coordinating die. So I positioned that there. I went off camera, and by magic of YouTube, I have that sentiment die cut. Now I'm picking out colors that I want to use to color the image. So I decided to go with pink purple since my background is already blue. So when we add even pink, it will turn into purple. So I just decided to go with purple and some green. I'm starting up with the green. I also wanted to mention I decided to choose colors that when you put over the blue will look nice. For example, if I picked yellow for the flowers, the flower will look green. So I'm using here a water reservoir brush. You can use any brush you have handy. I had that one handy and already had water since I did not have a cup of water at my desk. So I'm coloring that with it, or you can also apply directly to the paper the watercolor marker and then spread it with the brush pen. So I'm going here petal by petal. And we're almost done here. I'm just adding a little bit more towards the top of the flower. Here I'm adding directly onto the paper with my watercolor marker because I wanted to have a little bit darker area. Okay, I think I added more onto my glass mat. I'm using here the LDRS Creative Squirrel and Wine glass mat. It's wonderful glass mat and I love it for using it for my work surface. Okay, we're almost done here. I'm just adding a little bit more color there. and I'm adding again directly with the watercolor um, marker. And I'm trying to decide where to add that sentiment. I was gonna cover that flower that little bit went a little bit off the line, but I think it looks good with the sentiment to the right, and you can barely even notice that was unintentional, that it was a mistake. It looks like it was intentional. So what I'm doing here, I'm trimming that panel to 4 by 5 1/4, so I can add it to a black piece of cardstock A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, to create a little bit of a mat. Okay, I think that looks good. Now we need to add the sentiment and then add some embellishment. So I'll be using some thin foam tape to add the sentiment. So since my tape is wide, I'm using scissors to trim it off and make it 2 size to cover the back of that sentiment. I'm removing the backing, and next I will use the ruler that came with the glass mat to make sure that that sentiment is adhered nice and straight. So I'm creating the straight edge parallel to the borders with the ruler. It has magnets, so it's pretty secure to holds the paper pretty secure to the glass mat. To finish off the card, I'm adding some gems, some clear gems, to add a little bit more interest and sparkle to our card. Next I did here, I stacked 3 pieces of scrap cardstock, and I'm adding in the back. You can also add foam tape. Since I had a bunch of scrap cardstock from packaging and different things, I decided to use it and also to give some sturdiness to that panel. I'm adding more adhesive onto the back, and I'm adding it to a 2 piece of black cardstock. And next I will add the entire thing on top of a white top folding note card that I created before I start recording this video. Usually I create a bunch of note cards at once. I cut cardstock to 4 1/4 by 11 and score it in half. So that's our card for today. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. Don't forget to visit our blog for more ideas and more inspiration, and also please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future videos and more projects. Thanks for watching. Bye!